Hello and welcome to the Viking Prepper YouTube channel. Today I will be talking about survival prepping for normal people. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Johan, the Viking Prepper, and today I want to talk to you about survival prepping for normal people. Now, first of all, I believe that most people are normal people, and and the normal preppers or normal people that don't prepare are not able to see the warning signs in both past and current political, economical, and environmental events that we have. And on the other hand, there are some preppers that take it a bit too far. For instance, the Doomsday Preppers TV show on Discovery Channel was not a great promotion for the average normal prepper. And don't get me wrong, in many areas in the US, you need a shelter from storms that it can also be used as a bunker. But the ones that build a bunker out in the desert with guns and ammo to wage a war against a small army, well, that's just not normal prepping to me. Some of these TV shows and news coverage is about guys that barricades themselves in their homes, with tons of firearms and booby trapping their homes and threatening government agencies. They kind of put a bad taste and stigma on the word prepping or preppers. So when you're first starting out, maybe you're going to feel like I did and have the same kind of pressure that I felt, that it's frowned upon, and that if your neighbors and relatives know you're a prepper, you get a label to be someone that sits around with a tinfoil hat on your head and waiting for the world to come to an end, But I think nothing is further from the truth. When it comes to preparedness, preparedness is and should be everyone's best interest. I would say that Texans, if any people, would know how to be prepared. They have some of the most treacherous weather. Inland you get the tornadoes, and at the coastline you get the hurricanes. If any state knows that you should prepare for a rainy day, it's Texas. Because they even have a state sale on once a year where you don't pay taxes, you don't pay sales tax on most of the prepper gear that you buy. And that should tell you something. They know something's coming. And more people are waking up to the realization that the government will not be able to be there for you. And they're not going to be able to mobilize in time for larger scale events and to help them and help your family. So even FEMA and other governmental agencies recognizes this, and they encourage people to have a minimum of 3 days of food and water. Well, they ask you to have this food and water in case of an emergency, but I think that number is kind of laughable, but it's a good start. It's better than nothing. So now, if you're leaving society and moving into a more rural area with little or no population, it's for most people not an option, because some can argue that this is something people should do because the storm is coming. And I both respect and admire people that made that transition to living off the land and sort of homesteading. But I'm more of a believer that we have to live a normal life with normal activities, because we all need to work and make a living. And especially if you're living in like a urban area. And our children also needs to schooling, sports and activities. Although the quality in some of the curriculum they're teaching at schools can kind of be questioned. And anyone just, and to these days, anyone that just participates get a trophy. But let's not go down that rabbit hole, because I can spend hours discussing that subject. And but as long as society is somewhat normal, we benefit from easy access to stores to get our groceries and other items. I don't know about you, but with aging parents, it's also important not to be too far away from healthcare and other conveniences. And even though I'm not much for large public places, I think a trip once in a while, a dinner out or going to the movies is quite nice. And having that said, I hope that more and more people get into prepping and preparedness. And the first step is to realize that you need to become prepared. Now, the Western world today is more vulnerable to both man-made and natural disaster than at any time in history, due to our dependence on technology and our lifestyle that is supported by use of constant resupply chains, of transportation, also our dependency on global trade, and also the electricity, our dependency on electricity. Now, when we're talking about environmental disasters, and in a sense, we have natural disasters and severe weather storms, like extreme heat and cold. We also have to be prepared for EMPs, electrical magnetic pulses, and the obvious, of course, the hurricanes, flooding, tornadoes, and earthquakes and wildfires that we have. But also, if you're paying attention to climate change, there's a huge correlation between temperature and water shortages. Not only the US, but Europe and South Africa are losing crops and livestock due to these water shortages. And another environmental things that we have to look out for is, like man-made environmental concerns would be, like pandemics, nuclear power plants, radiation leaks, like what happened in Japan. You have dams and levees that can overflow and collapse. We have chemical factories that could have spills or explosions. When it comes to the economical situation, now I would also say that I'm following, excuse me, I'm following this quite closely. Is the water shortage. Because it's a shortage of crop shortages, so it's going to affect the food and the food prices and things. Food is going to get more and more expensive. Also, the U.S. national debt is a long-term threat to the nation's economy, and it seems like most countries and nations in the world are spending money they don't have. And even though they're spending all this money, we still have aging infrastructure and declining educational system, and a lot less local manufacturing. Now in the US, we have a large aging population with less workers, and that means less people paying taxes. So the ratio of working age Americans to retired Americans is going to fall dramatically. Right now we have about 5 to 1, and it's going to, by 2030, going to drop 3 to 1. So that means that by 2030, there's only going to be 3 working Americans paying taxes against 1 person that is retired. So it's 3-1 ratio. And we have a 5-1 ratio now, today, and that doesn't seem to be working great. So just imagine what 3 to 1 is going to be like, And those retirees have the right to demand resources and healthcare as they worked and they paid into the system. They deserve everything, because they worked their whole life. But that also means less availability and less available resources for the generation coming behind them. And social security by 2022 will be paying out more in benefits than it's generating in annual revenue, meaning it's estimated to have completely exhausted its $3 trillion reserves by 2034. When it comes to political situation, there's so many to mention here, but if you think about it, is that the US status as a superpower is constantly challenged by China, Russia, and other countries. Now, most countries face demographic and resource challenges just like the US, and also the trade for scarce resources. And that's going to be leading to a lot more increase in conflicts worldwide, the way I look at it. So what can normal people do to prepare for a rainy day? Well, you can make a detailed, tailored plan that is geared towards you and your family needs, So it's important that you take your time to plan out your preps. So when a disaster strikes, the person that have a plan are in general way better off than the people that have no plan. It will allow you to recognize the signs that things are coming down the pipeline, and having a plan will allow you to make quick decisions, which is crucial in life and death scenarios. Quick decisions and adaptability are key survival aptitudes. Now, the Pareto principle states that for most events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. So think 80-20 rule during your preps. You can't be 100% ready for everything, but if you prepare 20% towards any of your concerns, you're most likely going to survive that threat or catastrophe, as most people have no preps done at all. It's an ongoing process. It's taken me over 2 decades to figure out all this, and researching and practical real life training and experiences. And I wish that when I started, I would have had access to checklists and someone to show me the right way of prepping it. It would have saved me money and tons of time. So I decided to start sharing my knowledge to serve and help as many people as possible so they can feel the inner peace and sleep good at night again. Now, we must create strong communities and brotherhood to survive the unpredictable world, the way I look at it, the way we live in right now. And after you complete a threat analysis, you need to start making your plans and lists. So you need to figure out your personal and family security. You also need to figure out your inventory and supplies. Then you need to make a budget for your all your preparedness, and especially your emergency kits, like your bug out bags, your everyday carries, and some more kits that you will have in your home. And you also need to have a bug out plan with emergency contacts. You need to get a grab and go folder. You need to plan for food and water storage, consumables like toilet paper, hygiene and medical items. You're also going to need some tools for building, repairing, and gardening. And get some basic emergency skills and improve your physical and mental health. Also, getting your finances in order should also be a priority, because don't be the cost of your own SHTF. Learn and practice advanced skills, and not particularly in this order, like hunting, fishing, foraging, land navigation, personal defense, and more. And the reason why I'm not saying in that order is hunting and fishing, especially if you're living in an urban area, if something were to happen, the success of being able to hunt or fish something, it's going to be very, very slim. Now, if you're living in the rural area out in the country, your success for hunting and fishing is much higher, obviously. But, and also you need to extend your grid down preparedness for a long-term grid down scenario. And last but not least, we need to build community and be surrounded by like-minded people. Now, this is the short and quick highlighted version of a long list of subjects that need to be discussed. And yes, it will take years to complete. It's like anything new you do. It takes time to perfect it. Again, remember the 80-20 rule. Now, I have a more detailed prepper checklist that you can download on my website, thevikingprepper.com. I'll leave a link in the description to my website where you can download it. And it's free. Don't worry, I'm not trying to sell you anything. You can just download it there to help you out, to sort of get an idea on the different checklists that you do need. And in future videos, I will try to break down this long list into more detailed work, sort of a show and tell as we go. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button next to the subscribe button while you're at it, because then in that way you will get notified when I release new videos. And now you're in the right place, because I want you to join me and other Viking warriors, and together we'll have a continuous journey towards living a stress-free and prepared lifestyle. Now, as a good warrior, we plan, we prepare to prevail. I love feedback and your thoughts on this video, so please leave comments in the comment section below this video. And you can also ask me questions or suggest other topics that you would like me to cover. And I look forward to connecting and sharing stories with you. Until next time, be prepared and stay safe.